The screams and the void. Raylan Kane was alone in deep space. He had been hauling cargo between dead planets for 5 years now. It was a quiet job, boring and peaceful, just how he liked it. No wars, no people, no noise, only stars, silence, and fuel readings. But this day was different. It started with a strange signal. It came through the old emergency channel, the one no one used anymore. Raylan was half asleep when it buzzed through his comm system. At first, he thought it was static. Then he heard it clearly, a scream. Not a normal scream. It was twisted, layered, like more than one voice crying at once, high-pitched and painful. He sat up straight and replayed it. The scream came again. Alien, broken, terrifying. His ship's AI, Nora, spoke calmly. Unidentified transmission received. Source unknown. Possible sensor echo. But Raylan shook his head. That's not an echo, Nora. That's a call for help. Most pilots would ignore it. Space is full of strange noises, echoes from old wars, dying stars, malfunctioning satellites. But Raylan couldn't forget the sound. There was something human in it, something real. He changed course. The ship turned toward the signal's location, a dark patch of space near an old mining nebula. No official maps showed any stations there, but the signal was strong. Nora, how far? He asked. Approximately 4 hours at current speed. She replied, warning. This course leads into uncharted space. Raylan smiled. Yeah, that's usually where the good stories start. As the ship neared the nebula, lights flickered. The comm systems buzzed again. More screams. But now they were mixing with other sounds. Words in alien tongues, low growls, and a whisper that said something in clear English. Help me, Raylan, froze. That word hit him harder than a plasma blast. He repeated the signal again and again. Each time, the whisper grew louder. Nora, can you confirm English translation? He asked. Yes, single word detected. Help. Goosebumps rose on Raylan's arms. Someone or something was calling him. After 3 more hours, the ship reached the signal source. In the middle of the darkness floated a wreck, a ship, not human-made, long, sharp, with bones and wires sticking out like spider legs. No heat, no lights, just drifting in silence. Nora, scan for life, Raylan said. No life signs detected. Raylan put on his suit. He wasn't supposed to board unknown alien ships, but he had already broken that rule by coming here. He couldn't leave now. Not without knowing who had screamed. He entered through a broken hatch. The air inside was thin and cold. His flashlight cut through the black, showing twisted metal, burned consoles, and broken glass. But what truly made his blood chill were the claw marks. Long, deep, and fresh. As he moved deeper, he found a corridor with alien writing on the walls, and at the end, something strange, a small pod. Glowing faint blue, still active as he approached. It spoke human, it said, in a metallic voice. You should not have come. Raylan stepped back. Who are you? He asked. The pod replied, I am what remains. They took the rest. Who? Raylan demanded. The pod was silent for a moment. Then it said, the ones who scream, they are inside us now. Before Raylan could ask more, his helmet lights flickered. Behind him, a shape moved. He turned fast. Nothing but something was there, watching, waiting. He looked back at the pod. Are you the one who sent the message? The pod replied, yes, but not to save me, to stop them. Stop who? Raylan said, his voice trembling. The pod flickered. The Vihars well. They feed on minds, not flesh. They scream to lure. Then they enter. Suddenly, the pod began to overheat. It was self-destructing. No? Talon shouted, grabbing his comm recorder. He ran back through the wreck as the pod exploded behind him. A flash of blue light lit up the corridor. followed by silence. Back on his ship, he replayed his cum log. The message was still there. The scream, the whisper, the word help. But now there was more. A final sentence from the pod, recorded just before it exploded. They are coming for Earth. Raylan stared out at the stars. He was just a cargo pilot, not a soldier, not a hero. But now, he was the only one who knew, and the screams were just the beginning. Raylan couldn't sleep that night. Back on his ship, the stars outside felt colder. He kept replaying the pod's last words. They are coming for Earth. His hands were still shaking. He had seen wrecks before, but not like that one. That ship hadn't just crashed, it had been hunted. He sat in the cockpit, staring at the nebula's edge. The wreck was still out there, broken and silent, but something inside it wasn't. Dead. He could feel it, like a weight pressing on his chest. Nora, replay all sensor logs from the alien vessel, he said. Running analysis, the AI replied, while she worked. Raylan opened a message to Earth Command. He knew they wouldn't believe him, but he had to try. Then the alert tone beeped. Unusual energy detected inside wreckage. A secondary signal is active, Nora said. Raylan frowned. Where? Cargo bay section, lower deck. She replied. Raylan sighed and stood up. I guess we're going back in. Back inside the alien ship, the air felt heavier than before. The lights on Raylan's suit glowed against the twisted metal walls. Every sound echoed louder. He followed the new signal deeper, into a part of the ship he hadn't seen yet. The lower deck was half flooded with thick black liquid. It moved slightly, not with the ship, but with him, like it was watching. He stepped around it carefully and found a sealed door. Something had forced it open from the inside. Beyond it was the cargo bay. What he found made his breath catch. 12 cryopods, all smashed, alien bodies, half melted, half fused to the floor, eyes wide open, mouths frozen mid-scream. Some had markings carved into their skin, not natural, not medical, more like warnings. He walked further and saw a large crate. Still sealed, it hummed quietly, on the side was a label in broken Galactic trade language. Raylan squinted and read aloud. Specimen 0, do not release. That's when he noticed it. The claw marks on the floor, not just random scratches. They formed a shape, a message, 3 words. Repeated again and again. They see us. Raylan backed away. His mind raced. What kind of thing leaves warnings in claw marks? He turned to leave, but stopped when a sound came from behind the crate. Soft, like breathing, he raised his weapon. Nora, are you getting this? He whispered, receiving audio, unknown presence detected. The breathing grew louder. Raylan took a slow step closer. His light caught something movement. Then a voice, almost human, but layered with other tones. Help us, it said. Kill us. Raylan froze. Show yourself, he said, trying to sound calm. From behind the crate, a figure crawled out. It wore a human spacesuit, but the faceplate was cracked. Inside was not a human face. It changed, shifting, melting, reforming. Raylan's stomach turned. Nora, scan it, he whispered. Warning, neural signatures unstable. Subject is not fully biological. The figure looked at Raylan and smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was like it had just learned how to use a face. You were late, it said. We waited so long. Raylan raised his weapon. What are you? He asked. We are what remains when hope dies, it said. We are what comes after the scream. Raylan pulled the trigger. A burst of light hit the figure, but it didn't fall. Instead, it collapsed into smoke, then reformed 10 feet away. Raylan didn't wait. He ran, dodging the black liquid now rising like a wave. Back on his ship, he launched away from the wreck at full speed. The alien figure stood in the ship's airlock, staring silently, and then it vanished. Raylan sat in the pilot's chair, heart pounding. Nora, were you able to record all of that? Yes, she replied. Video, audio, and biological scan data stored. Raylan looked at the data feed. Among the information was a name hidden deep in the ship's system, Project Eidolon. It was human, not alien. Somehow, humans were. Involved in this, he opened the message from Earth Command. It had just arrived. Pilot Raylan Kane. Your presence near Sector 9 is unauthorized. Return immediately or face charges. He stared at the message, confused and angry. How did they know he was there? He hadn't sent his report yet. Something was wrong, very wrong, and deep inside. He knew the screams were only the beginning. The wreck was not forgotten. It had been hidden. By someone who didn't want the universe to know. Raylan had left the wreck behind, but the wreck had not left him. He stared out into the cold stretch of space. Nothing moved, yet everything felt wrong. His fingers trembled on the control panel. His breathing was slow, forced, he didn't know. If it was fear or something worse, Nora, he said, voice dry, run a full body scan. Full spectrum, all levels. Understood, Nora replied, calm as always, beginning now. As the scanner hummed, Raylan leaned back. He tried to clear his mind, but whispers kept echoing in his thoughts. Not memories, not thoughts. Voices. He knew his own mind, but now it felt like someone else was there. Watching from the shadows, waiting to speak, the scan finished. No foreign materials detected. Vital signs normal, Nora said. But Raylan didn't believe it. Not anymore. Whatever the thing was on that ship, the one wearing a face like a mask, it didn't need to leave scratches. It just needed to speak. And now it had. He looked down at his fingers and realized something. They were tapping in a rhythm. A pattern he didn't remember learning. 6 taps, pause, 3 taps, pause, repeat. Nora, is this a known signal? He asked quickly. Processing pattern, she said. After a pause, her voice returned. Pattern matches ancient distress code used by pre-warp species. Translation uncertain. But possible meaning. We are awake. Raylan stood up so fast he hit his head on the overhead hatch. His thoughts were racing now. He wasn't sending that message. His hands were, Nora. Check ship logs for any unauthorized transmissions in the last hour. Confirmed. 1 short-range burst sent from internal relay 2 minutes ago. Raylan's stomach dropped. He hadn't touched the comms. He was being used. Something inside him or around him was using his body. He moved to the medbay and pulled open the emergency neuromonitor. He strapped it to his head and hit the manual override. Red lines filled the screen. Something was there. His brainwaves had an echo. A second frequency riding under his thoughts, and it was getting stronger just then. A voice whispered from behind him. Stop searching, it said. Raylan turned. The medbay was empty. But the voice hadn't come through the speakers. It came from inside. He backed into the corner, gripping the wall. Who are you? He whispered. No answer, just a soft laugh. Like a child mocking him, he closed his eyes and focused. He thought about Earth, about his old crew, about real things. The voice faded for a second. Then came back, angry. You left us. You heard. US scream and still left. Now you will scream too. Nora Raylan gasped. Prepare cryosleep pod, emergency lock. He had one idea, one chance. If the thing was feeding off his thoughts, maybe shutting down his brain activity could starve it. Maybe, warning, Nora said. Cryosleep may cause permanent damage if entered without prep cycle. I don't care, Raylan shouted. Do it anyway. As the pod opened and steam hissed out, the voice screamed inside his head. Not loud, sharp, thin. Like a needle pressing into his skull. Raylan dropped to his knees, gripping his head. The lights flickered. Every screen on the ship went black. Then one screen lit up again. Not with data, but with his face. But it wasn't his face. It was smiling, wide and wrong. Its eyes were black, its skin cracked like glass. And it spoke in his own voice. "We are inside the wires. We are inside the blood." Raylan crawled into the pod and slammed the hatch shut. Nora's voice was calm again. "Cryo sleep in 3, 2, 1. The cold hit like ice through his veins. His breath slowed, his heartbeat faded, and the voice screamed one last time. Then, silence. The ship drifted quietly through space. Systems in low power on the outside. Everything seemed normal. But inside the ship's memory banks, deep within encrypted code, a message pulsed softly in an ancient rhythm. 6 taps, pause. 3 taps, pause, repeat, and far across the stars. Something heard it, and it smiled. Raylan woke up in darkness, not the cold black of space. This was different. This darkness was warm, quiet, and alive. He couldn't move. At first, then, slowly, the cryogel drained from his pod. Lights flickered above him, dull and red. He blinked through the haze and realized he was no longer on his ship. "Nora?" he whispered. No reply, just a low humming noise. Like a sleeping machine breathing nearby, he looked around. He was in a cryo chamber. But it wasn't his. There were more pods, all empty. Some were broken. One was burned from the inside. The walls were marked with warning signs, most in old human military code. His hands were shaking as he pulled on a nearby console. The screen lit up slowly. Station ICAS Biolab, Sector Level B4. Raylan stepped back. He knew that name. Station 9 had been erased from public records decades ago. Rumors said it was used for genetic testing during the War of Wills. Others claimed it was where the first non-human hybrids were born. But no one knew for sure. Until now, he walked through the corridors. Everything was old rusted pipes, broken lights, dried blood on the floors. But the power was still running. Something had kept this place alive, even when everyone else had left. He passed by lab rooms with shattered glass, empty cages, and torn uniforms. There were claw marks again, just like the ones from the alien wreck. But these were older, deeper, like whatever had been here had tried to escape and couldn't. At the end of the hall, he found a sealed door marked Authorized Access Only Project, Eidolon. The same word he had seen on the alien ship. He forced the door open, sparks flying. Inside was a control room, cold and silent. In the center was a chair, and in that chair, a body, a human scientist, long dead, still strapped in, the man's fingers were broken, and his face frozen in horror on the console next to him. The screen blinked with a final message. Raylan tapped it. The message played. It's a man's voice crackling through static. They said it was for protection, a defense against the unknown. But they lied. "We didn't find the parasites, we made them?" Raylan stared in shock. The voice continued. "They were never aliens. They were experiments, created from human fear. Human rage, human thoughts." He stepped back. Everything he knew, everything the universe believed, was a lie. The Vahazawel were not a threat from outside the galaxy. They were born here, in secret, by human hands. And they got out. Raylan opened the data files. There were logs, recordings, and reports. Test subjects listed by number, not name, side effects, hallucinations, voice mimicry, mental link formation, self-replication through thought. Failures, total memory collapse, identity override, suicide by inner voice. And in one file, a familiar face his old captain. She had volunteered for Phase 3. Final note, subject disappeared after final injection. Presumed lost in prototype ship. Raylan felt the blood drain from his face. That thing he had seen on the wreck. The face it wore. It hadn't copied her. It was her. She had become one of them. Maybe even the first. Suddenly, a sound behind Him footsteps, slow and heavy. He turned, weapon drawn, but it wasn't a creature. It was a man in a black military uniform, human, breathing, alive. You weren't supposed to find this place. The man said. Raylan didn't lower his weapon. Who are you? He demanded. Security, the man replied, or what's left of it. We keep the door closed until people like you break it open. I didn't break anything, Raylan snapped. The wreck called me. The voices? The man nodded. They do that. If you hear them once, they stay with you. They pull you back. Raylan looked at him, heart pounding. Then why are you still here? The man looked tired. I was infected years ago. I've been holding it back with meds. Isolation, darkness. But now you're here, and the signal is active again. He pulled a small device from his pocket. A detonator. This station should have burned 30 years ago, the man said. You need to run. Raylan's mind screamed. He had come here for answers and found too many. He turned and ran through the corridor behind him. The lights began to explode one by one. The station was dying, collapsing under the weight of secrets as his escape pod launched into space. Raylan watched the fire consume Station X, but in the smoke, for just a second. He saw it, a face looking back at him through the flames, smiling. The escape pod shook as it drifted away from the fire. Station X was gone now, burned, buried, erased again, but Raylan didn't feel safe, not even close. He sat hunched over, staring at the emergency controls. His hands were covered in ash. His ears still rang from the explosion, and deep inside, he knew something had gone wrong. It was too quiet, the kind of quiet that didn't feel empty. It felt crowded. He looked around the small pod, just a chair, a screen, a storage box. No signs of damage, no alerts, but the feeling didn't leave. It clung to him like static, like something watching Nora. He whispered, silence. The AI hadn't transferred from the main ship. He was alone, or at least he should have been. Then he heard it, a cough, soft, human. It came from behind him, which made no sense. There was nothing behind him, just the wall of the pod. He turned slowly and froze. A figure sat there, knees pulled to chest, face hidden under a dark hood. Raylan's heart skipped a beat. He hadn't seen anyone enter the pod. He hadn't seen anyone survive the station. Who are you? Raylan asked, voice tight. The figure raised its head. Raylan's breath caught. It was Captain Vale. His old commander, the one lost during a deep space mission years ago. The one whose face the creature had worn on the wreck. But this face looked real. It had her voice, her eyes, her scar. Raylan, she whispered. You made it. Raylan backed into the wall. No, you're not her. I am, she said. Part of me survived. I've been fighting it all this time. They trapped me in that station. His instinct screamed at him to run, but there was nowhere to go. They were locked together in a metal box, floating in deep space. You saw what they did in there, she continued. You saw what they made, what they left behind. How did you get into this pod? Raylan asked, her eyes darkened, just for a moment, the same way you did. She answered, I ran. Raylan shook his head. He didn't believe it. She was lying, or worse, she believed her own lie. I saw your body, he whispered. I saw your name on the test logs. Captain Vale didn't blink. They used me, split me. Half of me became them, but the other half, I kept it hidden in the dark. Raylan's hand moved to the emergency weapon under the seat, just in case, she smiled. You don't trust me. I don't even trust myself anymore. Raylan muttered. Good, she said. That's what will keep you alive. Suddenly, the pod lights dimmed. The atmosphere sensor beeped. Raylan turned to check the console. A sharp hiss filled the pod. The oxygen valve had been damaged. Stay calm, Captain, Vale said. We're almost out. Your ship's beacon is nearby. I saw it. Raylan narrowed his eyes. He hadn't activated the beacon. He hadn't said a word about it, but she knew. That's when he realized she was lying. He yanked the emergency weapon and pointed it at her. Tell me how you knew about the beacon. She stood slowly, her body stiff, almost glitching. You left me behind, Raylan, she whispered. They all did. Now you're just like me. Her face twitched, her voice echoed with a second tone, one he remembered from the wreck. The smile came back too wide, too still. She stepped forward. Raylan fired. The pulse hit her square in the chest. She didn't scream. She shattered. Not into blood, into dust. Black, whispering dust. It curled through the air, tried to enter the vents. Raylan sealed them, coughing, heart racing. He had almost believed her. That was the trick. That's how. They got in, not through force, through familiar voices. Raylan floated alone again. He reactivated the beacon and waited for his ship's auto-return. The pod was quiet once more, but something was changing. Something in his head, because when he blinked, he saw her again. Not outside, but in the reflection of the pod window. Smiling, not speaking, just waiting. Raylan stood alone on the deck of his ship. The escape pod had docked. The systems were rebooted. The cold silence of deep space was still outside, but now it was inside him too. The last few days had changed everything. He had seen the truth. He had heard the voices. He had watched lies burn, and now he knew Earth was not safe. Humanity wasn't being hunted. It was being led. Slowly, silently, towards something it didn't understand. He stepped to the command console and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Nora, bring up long-range broadcast. Channel open, the AI responded. Connection stable, ready to transmit. Raylan paused. This message would go far. 2 colonies, stations, even fringe worlds. Anyone who could hear it needed to know. Even if it got him killed, he leaned toward the mic and spoke. This is Raylan Kane, independent pilot, registry X9B2. I have just returned from Station Eyes, a site that should not exist, a place where human science became something else. He stopped, voice shaking, then continued. Everything you've been told about the Viharzol is a lie. They didn't come from the stars. We built them. He uploaded footage, audio data, the screen recordings, the AI logs, the video from the lab. It was all there, raw, ugly truth. Raylan sent the broadcast on loop, across multiple frequencies. Then he locked it. No edits, no filters, he whispered. Let them hear it all. But just as he turned to breathe, the ship alarm rang. Warning, Nora said. Incoming. Message from Earth Command. Raylan opened the file. What he read made his stomach turn cold. Pilot Raylan Kane. You are under arrest for spreading false data and unauthorized transmissions. You are to power down your ship immediately and await pickup by enforcement craft. He stared at the screen, his hands clenched into fists. Nora, did they even mention the evidence? Negative, she said. No reference to attached files. They didn't see it, he muttered. No. They ignored it, or worse, they already knew. He began typing fast, opening every secure relay he could, sending the message again. But not just to governments, to private networks. Miners, freelancers, old war veterans, the kind of people who still think. Then the second message came in. Your ship has been flagged as compromised. Approaching ships have orders to terminate if you do not comply. Raylan's heart raced. His own people had just marked him as a threat. Not the parasite. Him, he paced the deck. Nora, how many ships inbound? 3, all armed, she said. ETA, 8 minutes. He stared at the stars. All his life, he believed humans would fight for truth. Now, they were fighting to hide it. Begin stealth jump, he said. Random coordinates. Edge of charted space, confirmed, Nora replied. Warning: stealth jump cannot be tracked or recalled. I know, Raylan said softly. I'm not coming back. As the ship prepared to jump, he recorded one last message. This time, personal. This is Raylan Kane. If you're hearing this, I've disappeared. Not because I ran, but because I chose to fight. They're not just in space. They're in systems, in command, in people. They look like us, talk like us, wear familiar faces. But they are not us. The truth is dangerous, but silence is worse. He ended the recording and sent it on an old military beacon, one used before the War of Wills. Hard to trace, impossible to stop. Then the ship vanished into hyperspace. No trail, no signal, no direction. The pursuing crafts arrived seconds too late. Only empty vacuum remained, but the message had already reached ears that still listened. On a frozen moon, a rogue engineer saved it. In a mining camp, a group of workers replayed it in disbelief. And in a hidden bunker on Mars, a retired general whispered, finally, someone saw it. Raylan had become the target, but more importantly, he had become the spark. The infection wasn't just in people. It was in trust, in silence, in forgetting. And now someone had dared to remember. No one had heard from Raylan Kane in 17 days. His ship had vanished after the stealth jump. Earth Command declared him dead. A casualty of deep space exposure. Another pilot lost to madness. That's what the news said, but the universe knew better, because the message didn't die. It spread like fire, like a virus they couldn't quarantine. It reached colonies that had no leaders. It reached soldiers who had nothing left to lose. And most importantly, it reached those who remembered the screams. Raylan had started a ripple, but in the silence that followed, that ripple became a wave on a hidden relay station near Saturn's dark ring. A signal reappeared, not from Earth, not from the colonies, from Raylan Nora, he whispered. In the darkness, activate the override. The AI's voice returned, calm and clear. Target confirmed, central uplink array. Earth's high orbit, status, online, vulnerable. Connected to all communication nodes, Raylan stood inside the stolen Black Ops ship, a vessel built for stealth and system infiltration. It had once belonged to the people who silenced Station 9. Now, it would do the opposite. He watched the countdown tick. The ship's weapons were not plasma cannons. They were information bombs packed with evidence. Recordings, logs, and AI analysis, they would detonate across every screen, every channel, every military link, civilian hub, and underground feed. But once he pulled the trigger, there was no turning back. He wouldn't survive it. He knew that. But he wasn't trying to survive. He was trying to end it. Nora, he said quietly. Start the broadcast loop. All frequencies, uploading now. She replied, on Earth. Screens flickered. On Mars, alarms went off in government halls. In deep space, miners, smugglers, scientists, and soldiers saw the truth. Station 9. Project Eidolon, the parasite hybrids, the betrayal, all of it. Raylan's voice echoed across systems. Not as a warning this time, as a judgment. We were told to look outward, but the real monsters were made by our own hands. We were promised protection, but it was always control. The screams weren't from outside, they were from within, as the data poured out. Earth Command scrambled to shut it down. Too late, it was already in the backup relays. The forgotten frequencies, the old military bands. Raylan stood tall as the ship's systems overloaded. One last failsafe remained, a pulse weapon not built to kill, but to purge. It would release a massive EMP, enough to fry all systems near Earth orbit, enough to knock out the parasite signal embedded in the minds of the infected. For a moment, just one, the galaxy would go quiet. He looked out the window. Stars blinked back. Earth was beautiful from here. Even now, Nora, he said, it's been an honor. Likewise, Captain Kane. She replied. He closed his eyes and fired the pulse. A white shockwave burst through space. Every satellite blinked out. Every infected system went dark. Every voice that whispered inside human minds went silent. The ship burned. Raylan. With it, no remains, no rescue, just light. Then shadow, then memory. For days, there was silence. Then came the aftershocks. Earth Command fell. Leaders confessed or disappeared. New councils rose from the colonies, from the fringe, from the people. Raylan's name was banned on official networks, but painted on walls in every corner of the galaxy. They called him a traitor, a ghost, a hero, a myth. And on some quiet nights, in deep space, pilots swear they still hear him. Not a scream, just a whisper. Keep your eyes open. Because the thing about parasites is, they always come back. But so do the people who fight them.